What's going on, good people? What's going on? What's going on? All right.
Oh, boom. There you go.
We had some technical difficulties. We old, man.
Yeah.
Or
Not
we
not
we
we.
seasoned.
Not we. We gonna
We
blame this on Fafore.
we
That's
ooh.
why that's why we always say your name first and all of that so that so that people know I'm just the co-host. I'm just going along with the ride. So any difficulties that we may have, any problems that we may have, we're gonna blame them on Fafore because I'm just here, man.
Nah, man. We had some technical difficulties. That dry run that we had last week, man, they done threw something extra at me this week, man.
Yeah,
And expecting that extraness. Ooh,
yeah.
his light is bright.
Yeah, but we here now, man. We here, we live for our very first time, man. That's how you know. That's how you know we seasoned, as you say, man. We've never went live. I know I've never been live before. We've always had the opportunity to be recorded and say, "Oh, we're gonna stop right there, talk to Kurt, and tell Kurt to cut this part out and all that type of stuff." But this is live and organic, man. We're ready to get with the people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Man, things is wild in the streets.
Wow, wow. Since January 20th or what?
Yeah, since it started a little bit before then. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
Um, this gives a new meaning to the word assault and battery. It's like the assault is when I scare you, when I say I'm gonna do something to you, and then the battery is the actual physical thing. Where you know, Trump said this is what I'm gonna do, and January 20th he started off with a bang.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Hot
Yeah.
boy I told sorry worry will fool.
See, I can't even see the chat. So you just you gonna
Yeah,
handle that again,
I can see
again,
the chat.
again. All of the difficulties or anything that may be going on, we're gonna blame him on 5-4, right? He's handling the chat and all of that.
Nah, nah.
I can't see the chat or anything. Oh, maybe I gotta hit this little button right here, man. Oh,
Hey,
there you go.
so the person's name who was the first to comment is Suru.
Right.
Um, some translate that as patience. Some translate it as like more like an inner peace, right? But that's exactly what we about to talk about today with what's
Right.
going on with Trump, man. Trump, man, what's your view so far on the whole on how Trump then came into office?
He did exactly what he said he was gonna do. No surprises. He came in with that executive pen and did the things that he said he was gonna do. I'm not surprised by anything that he's done. I think a lot of us are. I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack about saying this. Oh, it's E.O. Winnie, Alafia, Agboato Ashere Word Wofun. Appreciate you joining us, Ia. I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack about this, but I think a lot of the things that Trump has done so far is not as bad as we thought it was going to be, and a lot of it has to do with our emotional connection to certain words that are used in this political climate. So when we hear words like diversity, equity, and inclusion, and things like that being done away with. I think we have more of an emotional connection to that term, and I don't think we really understand that doing away with that doesn't really affect any of us at all. Uh, his first week or so far. What do you think? What do you think about what Trump has done?
I'm honestly surprised. I
You are
wasn't.
surprised?
I'm surprised to like how quickly he started implementing things. I wasn't expecting that.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? I knew it was going to be some changes. Um, I divined, about both of the candidates. If said that Kamala would be better for the American people, but if also said Kamala did not care about the well-being of the American people, and that no matter which person came into office, it was going to be there's going to be a lot of emotional turmoil, regardless of who, right? And I don't really talk to a lot of EFI practitioners about politics. You know, I could talk to you about anything, and I know it's going to be unemotional. It's going to be a balanced conversation. You're going to weigh both sides. You're always going to go to the middle. And so I could talk to you about anything, but I didn't, I don't talk to a lot of, you know, spiritualists about politics and things of that nature. Because I know a lot of people have things that they are, understandably so emotional about, right? And all the stay in the middle, all of the, patience, compromise, give and take, all of those types of teachings that we have in the Odu Ifa, still we have, those of us who struggle with certain things. I mean, we all have certain things that we struggle with. Nobody is safe from that, right? Or exempt from that.
Right.
And so I could talk to you about certain things, but I was adamant about I wasn't going to select the lesser of two evils. That wasn't going to be my choice. Evil is evil, right? I don't know how to quantify evil, right? It's not like a lot of evil is bad, but a little bit of evil is cool, or a little bit of evil is better than a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how to quantify that, right? And so, I opted not to be a part of that, right? And so when Trump came hot and heavy, I said, let's divine on that. Let's divine on Trump's presidency. He the president now, right? We here now.
Right.
And I divined on Trump's presidency, and Ifa spoke to us through the Holy Odu of Ofun Oyeku, right? Which, if you go to like the Cuban lineage, which I love the Cuban Odu Ifa, I think is really relevant to this part of the world, right? And so it talked about that being a really unstable Odu because there's no balance. Right? There's two feminine energy. There's no masculine to balance that out. So it's all emotion. And we see that playing out, right? Everybody is responding to Trump's presidency emotionally, right? Even those of us who practice spirituality. And so if we don't find balance, right? If we don't look at things from all sides, when we look at an Odu, we're told to look at it, from every angle. We look at it, we do the Ibeji, the inverse, we do all these different things so we can get a full idea. The Odu is Ofun Oyeku. Ofun Oyeku is the Odu, right? So before we get into the Odu, one of the things that really struck out to me, which makes me understand that everything is spiritual, right? And sometimes I think it's a cop out. I think sometimes as spiritual people, we make that comment and we just leave it at that, and we don't really have the conversation. We want to keep it real. Everything is spiritual. I will break that down to me. When I see something that is just kind of crazy, I always be like, yo, spirit is really talking to us through this thing, right? And so Trump was elected as president in a universal year 9. Necessary endings for new beginnings. We could not go forward into 2017 in the same manner that we had been going. Right? So Trump came in to shake things up. I think for a lot of people who paid attention, astrologers, people who were in numerologists, priests, I think we kind of saw that, right? We saw that Trump came because he had to. We needed Trump to shake things up. And he did shake things up. The problem is he shook up our emotions. You know what I'm saying? He shook up our emotions. We didn't do anything differently, but just get emotional. You know, you got anything to add to that?
About the thing where you're talking about, you and I can talk about anything. I understand
Mm-hmm.
that politics and religion are two things that are very divisive. I can be friends with somebody one day, but if I have a different political view, you might block me on Facebook, block me on IG. Not talk to me again when
Mm-hmm.
you see me because I have a different political view than you. Uh, and I don't consider myself a Democrat, a Republican, a liberal, a conservative, none of that. I just listen to the different policies and all of those different things and make my decision based on that and based on me. I make the decisions based on me, based on my family. I didn't necessarily opt out of the voting process. I can't be a part of the voting process, and even if I could, I wouldn't be part of the voting process. I'm just out, watching and seeing what's going on. But I wasn't surprised at all. I knew day one when Trump got in there was going to be a lot of executive order signed. It seems like since I've been paying attention to politics, probably since Obama, maybe. It seems like every time the president comes into office, that first day is filled with executive orders overturning what the
Mm-hmm.
previous president did, to put their. I'm expecting that no matter what president gets into the office, I'm expecting them to come in with executive orders to start the process of building their administration and doing things how they want to do it. But like you said, a lot of people responded emotionally. Me, honestly, I mean, I never feel a difference no matter who's in office. No matter what president is in office, the only difference I may feel is when my wife goes to the grocery store and she tells me some things are more expensive. But other than that, like in my everyday, in my everyday life, I don't really feel a difference. I think we get emotional about the presidential election because it's in the news cycle so much. And it seems like we refuse to pay attention to our more local politics through which we can really feel the effects. Our governor, our mayors, our school board leaders, those type of things we are really affected by. So this Trump thing, I'm willing only to talk about Trump because everybody else is talking about Trump.
Right.
But I
Right.
think, yeah, I think a lot of that is past us and it doesn't affect us at all.
Yeah. So I got Osai Meji when I divined before the results. So when I divined before the results, I asked who would be the best candidate for the American people. For it was Kamala with Irete Meji, and then it was Trump was Irete Oyeku. So obviously Irete Meji is more senior, right? The thing about Irete Meji, we call it the crusher for a reason, right?
Mm.
You know, what they say, pressure bust pipes or
Mm-hmm.
make diamonds, right? That's a hard energy, right? When I see Irete, I don't look at Irete and be like, oh, it's gonna be sweet.
Right.
I'd be like, oh, like I'm gonna have to tighten up. Osai Meji, you know, Osai Meji, when you look at the darkness in Osai Meji is in the head, right? So obviously there's going to be some mental confusion. There's going to be some scattering of your thoughts, right? There's going to be some darkness in your thoughts.
Mm.
And it's a highly emotional dude. So the last thing you want is to have mental confusion and heightened emotions,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
When we see Osai Meji, we know the storm is coming. But Osai Meji tells us we got to find the middle of the storm and to remain calm. I see
Right.
Osai Meji, I got to go to Oya.
Right.
Ask Oya to help me through that, right?
Right.
And so, same thing with Osai Meji and Ofunyeko. We have a very, very highly emotionally charged Odu. Now, what I was saying was Trump got elected in the year 9, right? We know year 9 is unfinished business, right? And so Trump gets elected in a year 8 for the second term, but a term starts in the year 9,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so for the American people, the message is, what lesson didn't you learn the last time that you get an opportunity to learn this time?
Mm-hmm.
And in year 9, history's going to repeat itself to give you the opportunity to master that lesson. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
always say, the test you keep failing is the test you're going to keep taking, right?
Right.
And so what I see, what's today, the 29th, 9 days into his presidency, I see a repeat of last year. I see a group of people, us as the American people, we haven't learned since, last time he was in office, right? And so 2025, if we don't get it together and get it together soon, it's going to be a hard year. It's going to be way worse than the 9, because the test got to keep getting hard. They got to keep ratcheting it up, right?
Right.
To try to
Yeah.
get you to snap into it, right? And so there's going to be a culmination of those past events that are coming forward to this year. So what do I see that we haven't learned according to the Odu is that there's still no togetherness.
Abora Boye, Baba.
Who was that?
Baba Dare.
Oh, I
On
ain't see
IG.
it.
Hey, we ain't been live on IG the whole time.
For real?
Yeah.
Because you didn't hit the button?
I did hit the button, but I guess I
Oh.
didn't wait for it to do whatever it was doing, but we up now.
Mm-mm-mm. Oh, you tripping.
Wonderfully undone. Thank you for joining us. Yeah,
So,
Baba on with us.
uh. So yeah, so with the Odu, so Baba, since you just joining us because my brother didn't hit the button, we divined on Trump's presidency and the Odu Ofuno Yeku came down, and that's what we were just talking about. Um, and it talked about the Odu talks about this presidency feeling dysfunctional. It's going to be an emotional experience for the people if we allow it. That Odu says that there's no way for us to get through this period or the next 4 years without establishing a strong spiritual foundation.
Mm.
And that includes setting up altars and paying homage to your ancestors. Now, when we talk about spiritual foundation, we have a video that we dropped called The Spiritual Circuit, where we talk about 4 pillars of a strong spiritual foundation. We talk about prayer, meditation, divination, and ritual.
Baba says it can abruptly end. That Ofun Oyeku, things can abruptly end.
Ashe. Thank you, Bob. Um, that Odu also talks about like the dysfunction is going to come from us pointing fingers at everybody else. Now, in the first
Like
9
Boato.
days, all we see is when we talk about the DEI, you got some black people saying, oh, well, that didn't have anything to do with us anyway. That was only for white people. We got white people pointing fingers at black people about, how they were getting things unfairly at DEI. We got non-federal government employees pointing fingers at federal government employees saying you're lazy, this, that, and the other, don't none of y'all go into office, blah, blah, blah. And then that's why you have the executive order where he's telling everybody come to work. Everybody's pointing fingers at everybody else. And so, again, we're on the same path that we were on before. We haven't demonstrated that we learned anything from the last presidents.
Right. Anytime I see a overrepresentation of feminine energy, I always think about something being burnt, and I think about the pain that one must go through to give birth to something. So I always think about that. It is an emotional thing. Anytime I see emotions, I automatically go to the mental things as well as there's a cycle between our mental self and our emotional self. So I always think about that. That was also I don't remember what you put. You did the divination. I know one of the Odus was Okarano Gunda.
Okarano
And
Oguna was the EB. E-Ray was Okaran Shea.
So you got Okuran Ogunda, and you know how Baba taught us. You got the last of the first eight meeting the first of the second eight, and anytime
Mm-hmm.
you have that, you have creation, you have uh, heaven meeting earth. So I'm always thinking about the birth of something. So yeah, this is a very unstable Odu, a very unstable energy, which may mean that the presidency may be unstable, or it could mean that our response to the presidency can be unstable. This is going to be an emotional time for all of us if we choose to be emotional about it. I know I'm so unemotional about it because I've only started talking about politics. Like I've never been political and worried about politics or anything like that. When you and I first met, we met in the lodge where we couldn't, or we weren't supposed to be talking about politics or religion anyway. So, I mean, it wasn't until very recent, like me and you doing things on a podcast, that I've even thought about uh, politics and things like that, especially to talk to other people about politics. I listen to politics on the radio and things like that, but to talk to people
Mm-hmm.
about politics, nah. That was something else that came up in that old dude that said, um, "All of the good that you do, so will be your reward." That was one of the proverbs from the Odu.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about good, I try not to think about good in the dichotomy between good and bad, but
Mm-hmm.
good being whatever your morals are, whatever you lay your
Mm-hmm.
morals upon. So if we are considering ourselves Ifa Orisha practitioners, then that means that the Odu Ifa should be our foundation, and that should be the thing that should guide our morals. You and I have talked about that a lot, how we consider ourselves Ifa or Orisha practitioners, but we don't allow the Odu Ifa to guide our behavior. You know, we come up with
Right.
many different ways to justify why we don't do this, why we don't do that, why we don't believe this, and why we don't believe that, when the bottom line should be, and we say the same thing about Christians. We say the same thing about Christians is, you claim you're a Christian, but what does it say about this in the book? So now we have to, apply the same logic to us and say, what does the Odui Five say about these things? So what you talked about with the spiritual foundation for those of us who practice this Ifa Orisha tradition, our foundation, our spiritual foundation has to be the Odui Ifa.
Right. And so part of the spiritual foundation. Now we talked about what we call the spiritual circuit and those four pillars. When I think of a leg of Okaran being in E-Ray and a leg of Okaran being in EB,
Mm.
it's a clear indication that what we are doing is not working and we have to go in a new direction. Right? We have to. Now, how do we go in that new direction? By becoming more spiritual. What do you mean? We need to start praying more? No. And there's going to be some people who might disagree with this. Spirituality ain't just praying and meditating
Right.
and doing rituals and having divinations.
Baba just said what you just said. He said with all those Okaran, he's trying to set the country on a new direction.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And here the thing is, right? So we are going to do, me and O'Shea are going to do a series on the Medjis. And we're going to talk about like things that come up in each Medjay, like that we personally really like that are talked about in that Medjay. And it may not be something that is talked about, all the time when you see that. It's just certain things that stick out to us, right? We're gonna talk about that. One of my favorite things about Okaran, when it talks about this new direction, Okaran Meji talks about second sight. To me, that is a pillar of what spirituality is. Well, what's the second sight is? When you have an experience like Donald Trump coming into office and he's doing all these things, and you're like, oh my God, he's rolling back all these civil rights, and he's actually um, operating in that office very different than we've seen in the past. Like everything is an executive order.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is how I know spirit is involved. He has control, or the Republicans have control over the House and the Senate. he could go through and make all these things laws or try to change laws and things of that nature because he has the Congress, but he's doing it by executive order. What does that mean? The next president can come in and change it all, right? If we do what we're supposed to do. So what does that second sight tell you? Second sight is that we have to start looking at things through spiritual lenses and not always looking at things from an earthly standpoint. Like, oh man, this dude got robbed. That's messed up. How do you know that? How do you know how that plays in the experience that person needs to have for whatever reason? And so Okuran Meji has us, or the Odu Okuran has us to look at things through a different lens, just from an earthly standpoint, right? To really look, what is the meaning of that, right? Like, what is the purpose of that? What is this trying to get me to see? What is it trying to get me to understand? Why am I having this experience, right? That's second sight. And we're not doing that. Like, we get real unspiritual when the heat gets turned up. When the heat gets turned up is when we're really supposed to dig into our spirituality. Exactly. Everything has a purpose. And when, like I said, I was a political science major in undergrad. So when I see things like he just doing all these executive orders, he has the Congress. Why is he not doing this way? Things like that don't look right. I'd be like, oh, okay, spirit really working. Right. Like spirit really working. And so one of the things that we have not tried is unity, like real unity, like across the board. Like your problem is my problem. My problem is your problem. Let's all come together as a group and fight on the behalf of one another. Because again, Orishas like Obatala take us back to that chief of white cloth, that collective consciousness. We are all one. We are all linked. And we haven't really embodied that. Because we haven't embodied that, we are suffering through things. And so we really got to start looking at things differently. Like we really got to band together. Now, I want to go off because I've been working from home because I'm a federal government employee for 5 years. And now they telling me I got to go back in the office. And y'all don't understand how much I don't want to do that.
Right.
But instead of, getting in my feelings, man, I done been to every implement I got in my house. Right. I'll be at my ancestor altar like, yo, y'all got to make something shake because I can't do it.
Baba just said that the Okuran can also bring isolation, and that's the exact opposite of what you were talking about. And Quine says not since Stokely Carmichael and the Panthers, and even then we're only talking about a small segment of us at the time. And going back to what you were saying about usually when things get emotional or when the heat get turned up, we get very unspiritual. You and I have talked a lot about how in the midst of the experience, how it's difficult sometimes to apply the things that you know. And we talked about knowing better does not always equal to doing better. Sometimes we just know, and because we get so emotional, things go awry and we make really bad decisions. When I see Okuran, I think about coming to a crossroad, that we're at a crossroad, and again, taking things in a new direction. Are we going to continue to go the way that we've been going, or are we going to turn a new leaf and turn in a new direction and do things differently? I think if we cannot get emotional during this time, that this can really be a benefit to us, regardless of what side of the political aisle you fall on. This could be beneficial to everybody if we remain in the middle, like we've been taught. When we can remain in the middle and we can not get too high or not get too low, and stay in a space of homeostasis, of balance, of alignment, where we can really make decisions that will be the best for us as individuals, our families, our community, and humanity as a whole, then we can really start moving in a good direction. And not just while Trump is in office, but even afterwards.
Right. That old dude that comes up talks about we as a group. When I say group, I don't mean black people.
Right.
I don't mean Asians. I'm talking about all of us as a group are so separated from the divine that we don't see everyone in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was talking to brother Scott.
Brother Scott is on
Yeah,
here. He said they
he on
discussed that
here.
last weekend.
Yeah, so I went. So my old dude says that I need to meditate all the time, like every day, right? And so I got to a point where that sitting in silence thing wasn't really getting it for me no more. So
Right.
I called up Scott, like, man, the Hindus, boy, y'all done cornered the market on meditation. So I went to the Hindu temple last weekend, hung out with Scott. I was there, we was together about 3 hours. And we were talking about all kind of stuff spiritual wise. And we were talking about the Rastafarians, that whole I and I, like the divine in me recognizing the divine in you.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought that was beautiful, right? Cause it's like they really like live that, like they really be on that for real. And like we call ourselves spiritual, but we're not.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I see one more video about black women or white men or black women, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm tired of the black woman, white man, black man, Chinese lady. I'm tired of them videos. Like let's kill all of that. Like if we
Right.
can't talk about us as a group, then let's just leave it alone because we're talking about a dissension. You know what I'm saying? And so this is what the old dude was talking about. Like we really have to come together. Like when we talk, and if we talk about the good position, it
Mm-hmm.
talks about everybody getting there, not just I can master it, and then I don't have to go back and forth from Orun to IA anymore, or to the ancestral realm to Earth. I can just chill in the ancestral realm. You know what I'm saying? Because I done mastered it. Now I got to keep coming so I can help other people get there, so we all can reach
Yeah.
the good at the same time.
People would argue with us about that though, about what that Odu is actually saying. Now,
Yep.
since I know it's either Iwori Rosu
So a Rosu Award.
or Hiroshi Iwori, where it talks about the good position. And it seems to talk about both. It seems to talk about us as individuals and us as a collective. And the collective seems to be more important. Of course, there are other teachings that
Mm-hmm.
talk about us getting to this godhood, this apotheosis, this this elevated place where we no longer have to incarnate here. But Ifa seems to be talking about something else, where even once you become elevated and reach a good position on an individual level, that you still have to come and help, because nobody is actually getting across the finish line any earlier than anybody else. Odu number 78, my good brother.
Is that what it is? Oh, that's Bob is saying that.
I'm almost positive. No, that's me saying that.
Oh,
See?
I thought you.
Cornay
Oh
said some
yeah,
word.
it's
Cornay said
Rosu.
some word I can't pronounce.
Yeah, it's Rosu Award. It's not
Erosu
Award.
word.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
Odu number
yeah.
78, right?
That is number 78.
See?
Yeah, yeah. You know, for those who get it, Trump is going to be a catalyst
Mm.
for something great. He's either going to be the catalyst for our demise, or he's going to be the catalyst for our ascension, right? And so we as individuals got to make the decision on what we want to see, and really band together. Um, those of us who have been chosen to walk this spiritual path, those of us who have been called to be healers, those of us who have been called to be priests, um, we first and foremost, we are being challenged to be the best version of ourselves. Um, I always say, Ifa spoke to me through my brother, Mike Wilson. And Mike always says, I can see better than I can hear.
Mm.
And to me, what that means is you can, I mean, you can read, you could be highly intelligent, you could have you can have every pot of key for every Odu memorized.
What's going on, Frank? Frank from Havana, Cuba.
What's going on, Frank?
Frank, man, what's going on?
But if your life isn't a reflection of your intelligence, then what's the point?
That's what we always talk about, man. It's application, the application of the things we know. If you just have this series of knowledgeable quotes, and
Mm-hmm.
you know all of these things, but there's no application in your life, and we can't see it in your life, then
Mm-hmm.
it's all for nothing. But that's what we talk about all the time. You and I, anyway, we talk about application. We talk about being able to apply the things that we think we know. If you think you know, then you should
Mm-hmm.
be able to apply it and really get the result that you desire. Really get the
Right.
result that
Right.
you're seeking. If you really know, so you have to put that to the test and see if what you think you know is really reality.
But you got to be humble
Mm,
and you got to have a partner, at least one.
mm.
Every time I think I'm cold, every time I think I'm the coldest priest to ever walk the earth, it be my brother right here to bring me back to reality. And vice versa. You know what I'm saying? We got to be those accountability partners for one
Right.
another. You
Exactly,
know,
Quine. She says the dangers of recitation versus application.
yes,
Mm,
yes. And I'm gonna say, I don't know. There's not too many people who don't fall under that, that issue. I always tell people, if you want to understand spirituality, then what you got to do is watch National Geographic. When you watch National Geographic, look at what they talk about. That's the lens you should start looking at your life. When you look at National Geographic, right? I don't care what animal they're talking about, or they could be talking about an area, right? Like, this Amazon jungle. They're going to talk about how these animals mate, how they parent, how they operate within a community
mhm,
of animals that they're in the community with, including animals that are of a different species. They're going to talk about how they eat, how
mhm.
they look for food, how they sleep, all those different things, right? And so if you call yourself a spiritual person and you're not operating in that space, if you're not thinking about how you relate to your family members, or how you relate to people at work, or how you relate to people in intimate relationships, and looking at it from a spiritual perspective, like what does the Odu say, or the Bhagavad Gita, or the Quran, about whatever document you're using, whatever is your guide. If you're not looking at it from that lens, then what are we doing? Like,
Mhm.
my Odu says moderation in all things. And I used to ask people, like, what does moderation mean? They would give me all the, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. You could do a little bit of it, but don't go too extreme. But that ain't what the Odu say.
Right.
Otori Rete defines moderation.
Mhm.
And in that Odu, it tells you moderation means don't do certain things.
Right.
And Otori Rete, it talks about things like um,
Alcohol.
moderation is abstaining from alcohol.
Mhm.
Moderation is not having debts. Things like that, right?
Mhm.
But we don't use this information to actually be what guides us through our path, because we think we know better, right?
Brother
Or
Lee. Brother
we just,
Lee, man, what's going on?
what's up, Lee? Or we just unwilling to make the change, right? And because we are unwilling to make the change, what we do is we make excuses.
Right.
And then what gets worse, especially if you are a priest or a healer, we try to make the excuse the rule, and then we teach other people that way.
Mhm.
All because we are in a place where we can't change something,
Right.
or we refuse to change something. So for those of us, man, during COVID, there was a woman who had a call to, like, healers and all that, healers, priests, priestesses, so forth, shamans, whatever. And it was a beautiful message about, hey, this is the time for why we do what we do, right?
Mhm.
It might actually been George Floyd. It might have been during that time.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, she came up with this beautiful video. This is the time, right? For those of us who are in these spaces, right? Who destiny and purpose says that we have to operate in these spaces. It's time for us to be the best versions of ourselves.
But we got to stop arguing first, though. We got to stop arguing about whose system is the best. The Muslims can't deal with the Christians. The Christians can't deal with the Ifa practitioners, and the different branches of Ifa can't deal with each other. Like we're all arguing about whose system is the best, and we're not willing. That's what I love about Omar. We talked to Omar in Florida, Awo in Florida from the Lukumi tradition, and we've talked a lot back and forth with him, and we've learned a lot from Awo Omar. We've learned a lot, and he shared a lot of information with us as well. And we are coming to the understanding that we are a lot more alike than we are dissimilar. We are a lot more alike, and we are all trying to get to the same place. We're all trying to do the same thing. So we should be able to bring these things together. And if you are a healer, then do that, no matter
Right.
what it is that you practice, whether you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, you are a priest of Ifa, whether you are whatever you are, if you are a healer, come and heal. Whatever that looks like, man. We have to stop arguing first.
Mm-hmm. Right. And oh, you know what? I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it just because we also got to be honest that some of our traditions, while the information is out there, in practice, we aren't the best at doing it.
Mm.
Right? Like most people who call themselves spiritual understand that we need to meditate. Christians ain't meditating. They not that good at it. Muslims ain't that great at meditating. E5 practitioners ain't that great at meditating.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we got yogis, you got Buddhists, you got Hindu. Hey, you need to find you one of them,
right,
and learn how to get your meditation together.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you another thing too. I am a huge proponent of ritual.
Mm-hmm.
That by itself ain't gonna get it.
Right.
That by itself ain't gonna get it. It's gonna assist you in getting that job. It's gonna assist you in your healing. It's going to assist you in dealing with those emotions that are bottled up, right? It's going to help you with that.
Mm-hmm.
But you probably also need some therapy.
Right.
You probably also need an herbalist.
Mm.
You probably also need some yoga. Those of y'all that got a stellium in y'all sixth house, y'all probably need some yoga. Y'all need a good yoga practice. Awo Fafore says, just in our practice, how we can we can use possession to be able to connect with the divine.
Mm.
You can also do that through yoga. Osho says you can do the same thing with tantra, right? So there's some things that while I can go to E5 and show you where it talks about it, in practice, you might not be able to find that in the Elay.
Right.
You might not be able to find that. Jesus meditated. You're maybe not gonna find somebody who's gonna be able to help you meditate in the church. You're gonna have to find somebody else who can assist you with that. And you got to be open to that, right? You got to be humbled enough to say, you know what? My tradition has led me in the right direction, but I know that ain't nobody in this Elay can do that for me.
It's not complete. It's
not
not
right.
complete. That's why I think, at least for you and I, that's why our journey has been so long, and why our journey has been made up of so many different things, is because we're at some point getting to the point where it's like this isn't complete. And I think that's when we get to the point where you'll hear a lot of elders talk about not mixing things. And see, and I think that's when people like us, because we've come through so many different traditions and we feel like each tradition is not complete, then we want to start mixing things. Like I can take this from that, this from that, and this from that. And then, some people again will start to argue with us and look down upon the type of E5 we practice or the type of spirituality that we practice, because we've come through a lot of different things. I've read I want to say Clement of Alexandria said that the truth is like the rays of the sun, many different rays, but all leading back to the same thing. And I think that's what all of these traditions are, whether it is Christianity. Now, we're not talking about, let's not conflate the actual essence of the tradition with the practitioner. Let's not conflate those two things, because when you look at a practitioner, that may not be a good representation of the essence of the thing that they claim to be practicing. So let's not look at that, but the essence of the tradition, the essence of, and some of my Black people are going to disagree with me, but the essence of Christianity is holy. It's a beautiful tradition that was misused by practitioners. Let's not conflate the practitioner with the essence of the tradition. Islam, it's the same thing. When you read the Bhagavad Gita, it's a beautiful thing. And I think all of them are trying to get us to see the same thing, that we are God, or whatever that creative force, whatever name you give to that creative force, that thing, that we are that thing having our own human experience. We are different experiences of that creative force, and we are all making an attempt to merge back with that creative force. And all of the traditions that I'm familiar with talk about the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing.
Right. And again, shout out to Scott, man. I love talking to Scott. He is a student. You hear me? And when we bring him on to have this conversation about Hinduism, y'all gonna be like, yo, he snapped.
Right.
He got off. And so, and I don't know if he's still on or not, but I'm gonna give a shout out to a man that I call my teacher. My Luo is obviously my teacher, always my teacher, whatever. But then there's another man who I call my teacher, who Baba Darin. And when we talk about, like I said, we mixing different things. If you get a reading from us, the first thing that's gonna come out our mouth ain't gonna have nothing to do with the Odu.
Right.
Nothing to do with the Odu. The first thing that's gonna come out our mouth is gonna have something to do with the personal year that you in, the personal month you in. It's gonna be a tie back to your. If it's the first time you got a reading from us, it's gonna be about your life path number. Here, because we're in a universal year 9, there's a lot of it's a lot of that energy of your first pinnacle return. So you're gonna hear us talk about that, but that's a shout out to my teacher because he's a numerologist. But when I got with Scott, man, he took me to something that Baba Dore actually told me about, and I was doing it for a little bit and I stopped. Part when I went over there to talk to him about meditation, Scott, he gave me some mala beads, right? That they use, not like the cool ones that you just wear for, you know what I'm saying, fashion, but the ones they use when they are, chanting.
Right.
And he was telling me, this is what we do, this is how we, move them through our hands, and this is what we chant. And I remember, man, I got to learn that, but I don't know if I can say that, but I'm going to have to learn that. By the time I got home, I said, I ain't got to learn that. I got an Odu. I'm just going to invoke my Odu 108 times. It's the same difference, right? But, and we said it on before. We said it before. We are no longer priests of Ifa. We are priests whose foundation is Ifa. Which means if you got something that's cold, I'ma use it.
Right.
Period. I don't care, Christian, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Sufism, I don't care what it is. If you got something that's cold, I'm gonna tell you another thing that I start really doing. Anytime I do anything Ifa related, and this is a shout out to Haitian voodoo because of the Veves, and they use that to bring the spirit in.
Mm-hmm.
I make sure whatever I'm doing, I got an Odu drawn on my opine at all times. Not just for the things that you traditionally, invoke Odus. I'm talking about anytime I'm doing anything, I got my opine out. I got the Odus marked at all times, and I got that from Haitian Vodou with the Veve. Like, I remember, again, I'm giving a shout out to Baba Dori. I remember him talking about all these different traditions. It's like the Tower of Babel when it was knocked down and everything kind of, got spread around. You're going to have to go to other people to get some gain,
Man,
to add something into your practice that's missing,
missing.
That's struggling, right? You got to.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't start doing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think many of us are uncomfortable with admitting the fact that the traditions that we love so much and that we practice are incomplete. I think a lot of us are don't really want to say that the practice is incomplete, and it may not be that the practice is incomplete, but you don't have everything that exists inside of the practice. This is why I love the Lukumi so much, because their practice seems to be full. It seems to be full. It seems that, and not just the Lukumi, but things like you brought up Haitian voodoo, things like Haitian voodoo. Those traditions seems to be full because they are diasporic. They seem to have held on to a lot. They seem to have held on to a lot, and because they struggled so much to do it, they've held on and they are holding on tight to the meaning. There is so much in the Lukumi tradition that we'll never practice over here in what many people call Isheshe. At least not here in the Western Hemisphere. We don't practice those things. But a lot of us, I think, we are uncomfortable with saying that the tradition is incomplete, at least in the way that we practice it. And that's something that we need to be able to do. Say that if my practice or if my teachings of Ifa are incomplete and something else brings completion to that, then yes, that those things need to be implemented.
Absolutely.
Ashe.
Like our diet in E5 is trash. It's trash. I've been, plant-based vegan for over 11 years. I can't eat at the Elect. I went to the Hindu temple and could eat.
Right.
Because as a part of their practice, it's there. Man, we did so many yearly readings, or even prior to yearly reading, we've been having to tell people they got to stop drinking alcohol. The Odu Otori Rete, though, talks about moderation being difficult for the client, and it describes what moderation is, and it says avoid alcohol. You got people who say, no, you got to get you a little drink. Okay, cool. Science tells you. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Science
tells you alcohol is poison. A little bit or a lot. Poison is poison. You ain't gonna smoke a little crack. Right. Nah, you're gonna be like, I ain't gonna do that. But there's certain poisons that we've come to accept. Right. You know what I'm saying? Our body, and me and Scott was talking about this last week at the Hindu temple. Our body is a temple. But our temple that we sleep in looks a whole lot better and is more maintained and better taken care of than the temple that houses our consciousness.
Right.
Like, that is a problem. That Odu Okaran talks about your head and your heart being in alignment, so your Ori can be in alignment with your Ipan Re, so that you can know how to maneuver.
Right. But the Rosicrucians talked about the same thing. One of the things that the Rosicrucians didn't do, though, they didn't promote veganism in a way that would have you think that the practitioner should be practicing veganism. But the teachings, though, the teachings of the Rosicrucians, they taught things like the body has to be clean so that the spirit can work cleanly through it. They talked about things like that. They went back to Pythagoras and going into vegetarianism and things like that. They talked about things like if we continue to kill animals, that death and destruction will continue to reign on our planet, especially if we're killing them
Mm-hmm.
for consumption and things like that. So yeah, the veganism thing is very important. Our bodies must be clean for our
Right.
breeze, for our spirits to work cleanly through it.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, it's funny, but it ain't. Because I have a hectic sense of humor. I think everything is funny.
Right.
But I've been told by priests, like, hey, you need to eat this elbow so you can get your blessings. So I was like, well, what the hell is my ancestors for then? What the hell is my Ori here for then? How about fuck all of this and just give me a goat sandwich and then call it even if that's all I gotta do?
Right.
What we talking about? Like I ain't
Right.
get no blessing, and then me being me. I'm a light path 7. I'm very logical and analytical. I'm gonna ask you then, like, give me. I want hard fact evidence. What you done got as a direct result of eating some goat
Mm.
or eating that hen? Like I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
What it is with that. That's another people's culture. Like for instance, according to Ancestry.com, which says I'm the biggest chunk of my DNA is Nigerian, right? By far, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, even when I go over to Africa, I've been to Africa 5 times. I go to Africa, they say, "Oh yeah, you." I be asked, "You Nigerian?" Like, yeah, them my peoples, right?
When they say goat be coming out your pores.
Man, right, man. Look, hey, look, side story. I watched a Kenyan. So back in the Gap, I used to date a Kenyan woman, right? So I'm over at the crib. It's a whole bunch of Kenyans in the house, right? And so at the time, I'm eating meat, right? But I'm eating McDonald's and ribs and pork chop sandwiches and fried chicken. That's what I'm eating.
Right.
I, I don't want no part of them goat. I'm from Ohio.
Right.
I'm good, right? And so I can't, I'm just gonna say I'm black. That ain't what I want to say, but I'm trying to get us some sponsors. So I ain't gonna say the word I want to say to describe myself.
Right.
So it's a whole bunch of Kenyans, and so the girl I was dating asked this dude in particular, like, "Hey, you want something to eat?" He said, "No, I'm cool. I'm good." She's like, "All right." So everybody else get food. They come out, right? It's some goat, right? He looked at her and said, "Goat? You should have told me you had some goat." I was like, "Damn, it's like that." So now all of a sudden he's hungry. So every time I think of elbow, I think of that story about how dude was feeding on that goat.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, though, I think sometimes it's some of us as Black people, African American, whatever you want to call it, we are looking for a culture to identify with.
Mm-hmm.
Not understanding spiritually, we got relatives, family members still over there. We could have chose to be born over there. We chose to be born here, right? We chose this experience.
Mm-hmm.
And we so much want to be Nigerian, right? Like, I don't want to be Nigerian. Ifa is my birthright. I'm gonna get everything. That's my Odu. I'm gonna get everything that was taken from us to advance myself and my family forward. But it's certain things that we do that's cultural, and we don't understand it's cultural, and that ain't necessarily got nothing to do with us.
Mm-hmm.
When I think of eating the elbow, I think of like Jews and kosher food. Like the elbow is a good way for you to have some meat with your dinner.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like nothing more, nothing less. I have had things happen and manifest and open in my life without eating no elbow.
Mm.
I didn't have blessings and things open up in my life before I even knew what an elbow was.
Right.
Because I still got ancestors who looking out for me, even if I don't recognize them. I still got spirit guides who looking out for me, even if I don't recognize them.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I didn't recognize, even though I didn't even know what they were. I still
Right.
had these things working out for my best interest. So
Mm-hmm.
there's certain these things that we really gotta like think of and think about logically. Like logically, does this make sense?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We do the elbow, use the blood because that's what the Orisha wanted. And then whatever we do with the bird after that is what we do. I'm gonna put it in the woods, something gonna eat it. I
Yeah.
ain't.
We like discipline though. I'm just not talking about other people. I'm talking about us. When I say us, I mean me as well.
Yeah.
We like discipline. Um, one of the other things that I disagree with about how people say um, it only means that if that's your Odu.
Mm.
You know how we don't take the Odu-Ifa as a whole. We don't see the Odu-Ifa as one large philosophy. We
Right.
don't see it as one large thing to live by. We see it in segments. And the only time we approach certain parts of the Odu-Ifa is if it falls during a divination, or if that happens to be your Odu or one of your Odus. And I choose to look at the Odu-Ifa as a whole, as a whole
Mm-hmm.
thing, as an underlying philosophy that runs through all 256 Odu, through all of the myths and the Patakis told throughout the entirety of the Odu-Ifa. We
Absolutely.
also we also spend a lot of time saying that we don't have to do that. We spend a lot of time saying, "Oh no, you ain't got to do that. You ain't got to do all that."
Right.
And it's not to say that that there's a lot that has to be done, but we talk about again the spiritual circuit and the pillars of spirituality. I think once you have those four things, the other stuff is fluff. The other stuff is fluff. If you can get those four pillars down, and like you say, understand that you have to take care of the temple that houses your consciousness, then we will
Right.
be a lot better for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's hard for you to do those four things. Because here's the thing: you do meditation on a regular basis, spirit gonna talk to you and it's gonna help you evolve and grow. You
Mhm.
know, and it's like
We lost you, good brother. So y'all remember, I need y'all to remember that any technical difficulties that we may be having, we're gonna blame on Fafore. Uh, he is the host and I'm the co-host. I'm just here following his lead. It looks like he's trying to he coming back like Jesus, huh? Oh yeah, for sure. And if he don't got Metro PCS, he probably got cricket or something like that, man. He living in the Stone Ages. Yeah, they had to shut him down. Oh, he done all the way got off now. He done all the way got off. There we go, man.
oh,
Come on,
okay.
man.
Man, somebody called.
Oh man, they've been talking about you in the chat too, man. They say you got that Metro PCS. They say they
Hey
say
man,
they say you was about to say some wild spirit had to shut you down. They
got
say
the
you coming
devil.
back like Jesus. You'll be back like Jesus. Hold on a
Hey,
second.
hey, that was the devil, man. You know the devil always, you know what I'm saying, trying to hate. Now, what I was gonna say though, what you was talking about the Odu thing, that was something that it always confused me. People say, "Oh, that ain't in my Odu, so it don't matter." So when Edgy Ogbe says good and bad comes in equal amounts, that don't that's not something that you should take into consideration.
Right.
When Iwori Meji says that, you know, you need to gather the necessary information before you make a judgment, like that's not something that you should, you know, take into consideration.
Right. Because that's
When
not your Odu.
Character Odu, when Ogunda Meji talks about conflict and about avoiding conflict, and if conflict is truly is unavoidable, it teaches you how to engage in conflict wisely. Like that's not something that would benefit you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I disagree with all that. But again, it's because we want to do what we want to do, how we want to do it.
Mm-hmm. And that's
Right?
cool. And for me, it's cool if you say, if somebody tell me I practice E5, but I do things how I want to do them. You know, I got my own way of doing things. I'm cool with that.
Right.
I'm cool with them doing things the way that they do them. I don't care if you mix whatever you've mixed. You got Christianity, you got Islam, you got all of these different different things mixed up into what you're calling E5. I'm cool with that. But just say that. Now if we're gonna
Right.
practice, if we're gonna make an attempt to practice the essence or what we believe is the essence of E5, and if we're gonna use the Odu E5 as our foundation and as our guide, then let's do that. Let's be willing to study the Odu E5, see what the Odu E5 really says, and allow that to guide our decisions and our behavior out there in the real world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, you got anything else? Anybody got any questions
This was
before we?
this is oh she say Quene say don't put that on Lucifer. Don't put that on Lucifer.
I'm blaming the devil for everything. You know. Hey, we got to do this again because we talked about doing a live to talk about our episode. Eshu is the devil. If you haven't watched that, please check that out.
Yeah, we're gonna get a lot of flack. We're gonna get a lot of flack about that, man. Especially with just the title. You know, if you tell somebody, because you know you got this movement going around that Eshu is not the devil, and then you got two relatively young Awos come and say, well, Eshu is the devil. You know, we're gonna get some flack about that. So yeah, I think we should come on here, go live again, talk about Eshu is the devil and what we really mean by that. I think a lot of people will get emotional about us just saying that Eshu is the devil and not be willing to listen to what we say and how we compare the two. So yeah, I think we should come on here and talk about that at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, y'all definitely go back and watch the episode. Eshu is the devil. Shout out to Baba Todd.
Yeah, we gonna
Thank you,
definitely
Kia.
thank you. We gonna talk about that, and because the and I don't want to get into it, you know what I'm saying, until we actually had a live, but the whole issue is the devil goes into the reason why we have an issue moving forward because of these colonized minds that we have and the colonized way in which we think about things. And so we're gonna have to talk about that episode and then add in the whole, colonization piece, which we touched on in the episode, but we appreciate everybody who's checked it out. And if you haven't, please check it out. I want to have a dialogue with it. The funny thing about it is everybody who commented on, oh, SU is the devil, that's blasphemous, and we asked, have you watched the episode? It'd be crickets. Right? It'd be crickets.
Right. Yeah. I think there's an emotional attachment to the phrase that Eshu is not the devil or Eshu is not Satan. And so when they hear us say that Eshu is the devil or Eshu is Satan, then there's an emotional response to it without listening to, what we are actually trying to say. And I think most people who are honest, they can see how we can say that from the stories of Eshu. Just from the stories of Eshu alone, I think people would be able see that. It says, as an SU priestess, I normally trans issues with content, but it was such a great commentary.
Oh man, we greatly appreciate
We
that.
appreciate you.
And that's coming from an SU priest. Appreciate that. You know,
The nexus.
I'm gonna be
Quinay says the nexus of choice and consequences, action and reaction is spiritual, physics, metaphysics.
Yeah, you know, SU is the child.
Brother Biles, what's going on, Brother Biles?
You went from not being able to see nothing to seeing this before I see it.
That's because you looking at. I'm looking at IG.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, I'm looking at IG. Boz just joined. What's going on, Brother Boz? Our good brother Boz is way in Mexico, man. So he's supporting us way in Mexico.
That's already Beji. That's already Beji. That's the doctor. But yeah, you know, Eshu is the child of wisdom and desire to bring order to chaos. You know, that's a big deal. It's a big deal, man. I'm gonna get initiated as a priest of Eshu at some point. Yeah. And you know what? We talked about meditation. I got that from meditation. I was sitting in this chair in this room, 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, it was jet black outside. Had my eyes closed, just sitting here, and I heard, "Hey man, you need to get initiated to SU." I said, "Word." My order said, "Word." I said, "All right."
Greetings, Brother Boz, the doctor,
So,
man, the great doctor. Y'all check out our brother Boz, man. He's doing great things over there in
Method Moreno.
He's a real. He's one of those healers that we were talking about. He's one of those real healers that are gonna have to step forward in this time, Dr. Boz.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you something about Boz, right? Boz is, had I met
Lee got a question for you.
Hold on, Lee. Had I met Boz like 13, 15 years ago, and he told me that he was healing people with what he healing people with, I'll be like, man, he tripping.
Right.
Like, hey, man, this dude is a scam artist.
Right.
Like, yo, I done went to Mexico and watched him work.
Yeah.
And I didn't use his product. Man, Boz is knowledge. Man, Boz know his stuff.
Yes,
you know?
Yes, he does, man. Yes, he does. He is an encyclopedia of health and healing. So y'all check out brother Dr. Boz Moreno and check out his products. He is really healing people over there in Mexico.
Absolutely.
Brother Lee says, Fafore, do you believe for the highest spiritual connection that a person should be plant-based?
I don't really have too many beliefs. It's either I know or I don't. When you go through initiation, other than when the point where they do the animal sacrifice, you ain't eating no meat. You ain't eating a whole lot of nothing for real. It's real clean. When you look at these mystics or Jesus, when Jesus went out and to the wilderness to go fast, you know, think about what that looks like. Christians do this Daniel fast. I ain't never heard of Daniel going on the fast. When I read the Bible, that sounded like that was his way of life. You know what I'm saying? And so when we look at the Eastern traditions, the Hindus, the Buddhists, the yogis, man, I remember I went to a Buddhist temple and I asked the Buddhist what they eat. He said, we don't eat no animal because we don't want anything to suffer. And it took me about 10 minutes to figure out what the hell suffer was. Right? So I believe, I told you I have very few beliefs, but I believe that there is a karmic debt that you pay for killing animals unnecessarily, right? And we don't need to eat animals, you know. people will say things like, "Oh, our ancestors ate animals." It's a whole lot of stuff your ancestors did you wouldn't dare do. Mm-hmm. So again, like people talk about with the Bible or how with the old do you file, let's quit picking and choosing what it is that you want to do or you don't want to do because of your addictions, right? I always say give it a try for 60 days. See how your body feels, all right? When I did it, I just was like, oh, I'm gonna just do a challenge. And I started studying and asking a friend of mine who put me on questions. And man, I'm gonna tell you this. If I didn't go vegan, I'm not talking to y'all right now. I'm not a priest of V5.
Right.
There's no way that I get here without that experience, without making that change. And I was the big man, I'm telling you. And people who follow me on Facebook and IG and stuff, they'll see. I every now and again to make a mention about a Big Mac or
yeah.
My boy was telling me a story about back in the gap, and he mentioned rallies, and I was like, man, them big Bufors at rallies used to go hard. Like I'm not one of them vegans that's like, ugh, you like a Whopper? Man, please, Whoppers was fire.
You trying to live vicariously through other people. I remember you asked me about that McRib and
Yeah. I'm gonna ask people who I know gonna continue to commit fork and knife suicide anyway. Right. Hey, go ahead and taste that and let me know if it still tastes like I remember. Right. But no, I don't believe that you are able to reach the highest levels of spiritual connectivity, spiritual expression, growth and evolution eating dead animals. I also don't believe you're able to do that without a good meditation practice either, to be perfectly honest. Mm. So you cannot eat animals, and if your meditation game ain't up on par, I don't believe you can reach those higher levels. You know what I'm saying? If you're not propitiating that ori, if you're not communing with your ancestors, I don't know if you can reach those higher levels with all those things. There's a lot of things you have to do. And there are certain things that I might not have to do that Oseun might have to do. Like I said, if you got a stellium in the 6th house, man, you gotta do yoga. You gotta do yoga. There's some things, there's some healing that require you to move the body a certain way in order to be able to release those things. Right? It is not just for yourself. It's because once you master it, then you can heal the other people. The problem is that we selfish. I'm a father. I'd be damned if I make my son have to take care of me and I got a colostomy bag and he got to change it and this, that, and the other because of the choices I made, the lifestyle choices I made. And now I'm affecting his life and not allowing him the freedom to do what he needs to do as an adult because he got to take care of me. Because the fact of the matter is, those bags, I don't have the stomach to change them bags. So if you depending upon me to do that, you gonna be short. Right. Like I got a weak stomach. But this is why spirituality is important. Because I said spirituality, the foundation of that is not prayer and meditation and all those different things. It's about understanding you, what you came here to do, what your destiny and purpose is, and how you relate to the world around you. Mm-hmm. That is the foundation of spirituality. Mm-hmm. And if you get in tune with you, you will get the blueprint to exactly those different things that you need. Right. You know.
This was beautiful. Our first time being live. I really didn't expect us to be on live this long.
Man, I knew we were going to be online this long. Oh, quick shout out too, real quick before I forget. The spring equinox is on March 20th. Mm. On the 21st, which is a Friday, starting at 6 p.m., I'm going to do a 40-day fast. I did everything else. 40 days of fruits, 30 days all liquids, all that type of different stuff. I've never just fasted. So I'm going to just have coconut water, spring water, or tea. And to be realistically, I ain't drinking no spring water. Not that I have nothing against it. I just coconut water and herbal teas.
For
I'm gonna do
40
that.
days.
No, hell no.
Oh.
For 40 hours.
Oh, 40 hours.
For 40
Okay.
hours. So from 6 Friday, the 21st, to whatever that Sunday is at 10, you can break the fast. I'm going to do that. Now, I always say a good fast is a part of a lifestyle, right? So give something up. This is a year 9, right? The equinoxes represents renewal. Time to do something new, right? Again, if you are an aberration, if you are a priest, if you sow day, if you are a healer in any way, shape, or form, if you are urban, whatever the case may be, man, we have to be the best versions of ourselves.
Right.
Because if we're not, we're being selfish.
Quanae said she gonna get on that.
Okay.
On
Let's
that
get
fast.
it.
On that fast. I'm gonna join. I'm gonna join in on that too. 40 hours. I gotta make sure I'm off work too. I need to be at home.
See?
No.
He can't do it because it's a Luo.
You hate.
The Luo said he can't do it.
No. I'm talking about my job is physically taxing. I'm gonna do the fast. I'm gonna do the fast, but I'm gonna be at home.
Okay, yeah, then we can see that's what I'm talking about.
we gotta
level up. We gotta be like, my Egbe Odu is Agbe Okuran. Talks about completing the sacrifice.
Right.
And so yeah. I've been vegan for, like I said, it'll be 12 years in December for a long time. And there were some things I would hold on to. I give me a Beyond Meat burger every now and again. You know what I'm saying? I give me them Siete barbecue chips. You know what I'm saying? They all organic with only a couple ingredients. Still processed. And Spirit been telling me for years now, like, hey, G, you don't eat McDonald's no more. Why can't you give this up? Like, complete the sacrifice.
You're gonna have to put something out. We got somebody else that want to join. We put the smiley face at the end of it, but yeah, you're gonna have to put it out, man, and invite people to join. 40 hours, that's not really that long. We can I think we could do that, man. Coconut.
Hell, you're gonna be asleep most of it.
Right.
Yeah. Now I'm saying all of that, and I don't like being raw. So after about 2 days of raw food, I'd be angry. I'd be ready to fight. Like, I hate being raw. So the fact that I've done so many fasts, people be like, oh, it's simple to you. No, it'd be a battle.
Right.
It'd be a battle every day of that 30, 40 days, 14, it'd be a fight. You know what I'm saying? But I got to level up, man. You know what I'm saying? I got to be the difference.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got to be the difference. All of y'all, man. There's some dope people on here. You know what I'm saying? Like, we focus on the same thing. We got to help each other out. You know what I'm saying? We got to build our community. You know what I'm saying? One person at a time, right? So, appreciate y'all.
Yeah, man. We appreciate y'all checking in on us, man. Watching, being a part of our very first live. We're going to start to do this more regularly. We definitely need to do this more regularly, being consistent on being live on all of our platforms. So yeah, we're gonna try to do this a lot more regularly, and we hope y'all will continue to check in with us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, one other announcement, one thing that we think we're gonna start doing quarterly, along with at least for right now, we're gonna start doing it quarterly with the solstices and the equinoxes. We're gonna do a group Ibori. We're going to host it. We're going to get online and we're going to do it, so you'll see that coming up too. Mm-hmm. We might have to kick off the fast for the spring equinox with that. So, but yeah, so look out for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we appreciate y'all, man. We appreciate y'all spending some time with us. It is 8:00. I don't know where y'all at. It's 8:00 where I'm at. For my brother Fafore, he knows me. Usually by now, by now I've probably been asleep for an hour already. I've been
Right,
asleep for an
right.
hour already. But yeah, man, I appreciate y'all. We appreciate y'all checking in with us. We're looking at the IG. We appreciate all of the comments. We appreciate y'all checking in on us. We appreciate y'all on YouTube. We appreciate you, Ia. We see you. We see you staying active with us. We appreciate you, and we'll be doing this again.
Absolutely. Peace.
Peace. I don't even know how to log out of this, man.